Hello, and welcome to Money Thoughts, a financial education program that helps you think about, better understand, and have more power over your money. I'm your co-host, Peter Crowley, today. My other co-host, Deb Frazier, is unfortunately not with us today. But I'm happy to have as our guest, Michael Warrington. Michael is the first vice president of Valley National Bank, and his organization provides business support to small businesses. Michael, welcome.
Thank you, Peter. Happy to be here.
So as we always start off with the show, tell us a little about you and about Valley National Bank.
Sure. Well, I'll start out talking about myself. And I'm a career banker. I've been in banking for 40 years, and I've worked at several institutions. I started my career at Chase in the early 80s and spent some time there as a branch manager on the retail side, and eventually going through their corporate credit training program and became a commercial lender. After my time at Chase, I spent a number of years at Citibank working in New York. And there I had various management responsibilities, managing teams in middle market banking, business banking, and small business banking.
So let our audience know, as a first vice president for community banking, what is community banking? And, we know about banking, but community banking is a little bit different. You want to talk a little bit about what and who your clients are in community banking?
Sure. So at Valley, we value relationships with our customers, right? And we pride ourselves on treating all of our customers with the same type of relationship management style we do as from our middle market companies, our small business borrowers, and our community borrowers. So community lending is a segment that we started recently to focus on women and minority-owned businesses. And we define that, first of all, by the ownership, and we also look at the revenue size of the companies that we're working with, which is up to $1 million, and we provide financing up to $100,000. So
community banking, looking at it, is designed to serve sort of the underserved community, I guess, is how you'd take a look at it. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. As you know, when you look at small businesses and community type customers, you realize that they're the backbone of the country, right? They employ the bulk of the people, 5, 10 people in their businesses. They're the mom and pops that we see every day. They're the small bakeries, they're the auto service companies, they're the small cleaning services, they are your landscapers, small contractors. And those are the people that we focus on, and that's what community lending was set up to work with.
So in traditional banking, there's a set of financial criteria they look at. In community banking, though, you focus more on the company's growth potential rather than its current size. And how does that help you in determining how you help drive a company's long-term growth?
Well, we realize that the community business target customer doesn't always get the same hand-holding that the larger customers get from the larger banks. So what we do with those customers is we sit with them and we provide them guidance and direction as to what type of loan products are available to them that will help them grow their business, be it as small as $5,000 or up to $100,000. We also talk to them about the correct type of retail banking account they should have. Oftentimes small business owners will come in and open up a checking account, but not really understand what's the right checking account for them. So we sit and counsel them and help them understand how to best utilize the products that the bank has, also creating the relationship with the bankers.
So small businesses have been traditionally, I won't say overlooked, but not the main focus of larger banks. This has been especially true with minority and women-owned businesses. Now, you mentioned that's the focus that what you do, but how do you get over the past bias that banks had against small businesses, especially minority and women-owned businesses? Do you actually go out of your way to focus on those particular areas of expertise?
Yes, Peter, we do. And the way the community lending team itself, right, is the members of the team look like the community folks that we work with, right? We have bilingual members on the team, and we have minorities on the team. And all of these people on the team are experienced bankers with deep history in banking, right? We have folks that have been in branch management for a long time, people like myself that have been in commercial banking for a long time, people who are and have a focus on CRA activities and CRA and how that supports the community. So we put those people purposefully together to create this team because we understand that those are some of the challenges that the small businesses run across. So by having those types of folks, we can answer their questions and provide them direction and guidance that they normally would not get.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we put the team together and what our focus is.
Do you find, do you go, you have a whole branch network to work with. Do they help refer to you those kind of businesses that you want to work with, or do they have to go search you out? And the reason I ask that is, within a bank, sometimes it's hard to find the right person to be talking to. It sounds like you're working more as a partner with these companies as opposed to sort of just being there and they go to find you. Do you find them, or do they find you?
Well, the answer to that question is yes and yes. Yes, we work with our branch partners to reach and find those small business owners that we have within the bank and within Valley. And we have a number of customers like that. So the branch helps us identify those customers, as well as working out in the community and networking with some of the chambers and other organizations that we're members of to help find those folks. So we're proactive outside of the bank, and we're proactive inside the bank.
So the other thing that came up in looking back how you lend, very often a smaller business is an integral part of the community. And when you're talking to them and you have to make a decision of whether you in fact do something extra for them, does it come into your decision that they are part of the community, and to lose that particular business, be it a small air conditioning company, be it a small gardening company, would really hurt the community? Does that come into the decision making on giving out of either lending or other services you provide?
You know, first I'll say that the way we approach our customers at Valley is that we are a relationship bank, and we treat all of our customers as a valued relationship. You know, it doesn't matter how large you are or how small you are. So that's where we start, right? And then when we're working with the customers, we give them the time, and we take the time to understand what it is they do and understand what their business needs are, both financially as well as on a personal side. All right, and we provide that service to the underserved community, or I don't want to say underserved, but the smaller businesses, right, that normally don't get that time. And we have found that that's been very helpful for the business owner as well as the bank. And their relationship and the activities that they do in the community is very important, right? We pay attention to that, and we understand that these businesses are valuable to the community that they serve and live in, and we try our best to meet their needs.
So banking is a very competitive business. You got lots of banks out there. How do you work with your other peer banks with this small minority group, the minority business owners or women business owners, to make sure they're getting the best services they can? Not just you, but other banks that are around.
Well, you know, we come into contact with other banks all the time. And being in banking for a number of years, there are many contacts, many friends and colleagues who are at other institutions that we know and talk to on a regular basis. You know, and while banking is competitive, it's always interesting to see how we work differently to support the same needs of a particular customer. All right, so we kind of exchange information. I mean, yes, there's a competitiveness nature about it, but there's also collaborative. Right, and also what we do is, I may have mentioned earlier, is we work with a number of organizations within the communities that our footprint is located, you know, and we're members of their boards, right? We're members of their organizations. We have leadership positions in those organizations, which gets us out into the community, but also allows us to understand how the people, the customers and business owners that we work with fit and support the communities they're in.
So you mentioned that you work with other organizations like chambers, and do you work with the SBA and organizations like that to find assets and ways you can help small businesses?
Absolutely, absolutely. Valley has a SBA group, right? We're a preferred lender, and it covers our footprint. I may not have mentioned earlier, but Valley's footprint covers 4 states. It's New York, New Jersey, Florida, and Alabama.
And get rid of that question. That's coming up later on.
Oh, I jumped the gun,
me on
right?
that one.
I'm sorry, but it kind of leads into what we're talking about, right? And how we support the communities that we're in. And our members on the team sit on boards. I'm on a board of a local community development corp, you know, who also is a SBA lender. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we have our own SBA team, which allows us to work with companies and provide SBA financing.
Now, I know banks very often delineate customers by size. If you were to start with a small business and it starts to really grow, which is what you hope it happens, do you have to let that company go to another group, or can you stay with that company, or can your community bankers stay with that company as it grows?
Well, the way we look at community banking And the way we handle situations like that is for our small businesses, we look at community banking as the entrance into the bank, right? We'll hold your hand, we'll guide you, provide you direction, give you the products and services that you need. And in the best case scenario, that customer stays with us throughout their life cycle. And as they grow and as their business needs grow, we have other areas in the commercial bank that they will go into.
Mm-hmm.
We have our business banking, which is a level above community lending. And so if you have a customer that's been around for 5 years, 6 years, and they've all of a sudden really hit their stride and their borrowing needs are more and their daily banking needs are more complex, we grow them and refer them to our business banking team,
Mm-hmm.
which handles the larger loans, and the more complex transactions. And if they continue to grow there, then they would go into our middle market bank. I mean, so that's really a perfect scenario for us. We bring them in, we hold their hand, we provide them the guidance and direction that they need, and then they continue to graduate through our commercial bank.
That's a great way to go. So when you're a small business starting off, there's sort of three things I thought you needed. You need lines of credit, you need debt consolidation if you're coming off, and you need some equipment leasing. Can you talk about how you help small businesses in those three areas?
Well, the first thing we do, Peter, is we sit down and have a deep conversation with them about what their business model is. We ask them about their financing, how it's not their financing, but their financial information, how it's prepared. Are they using a tax preparer? Are they using an accountant? Are they providing financial statements? And looking at that information and having conversations with them, we talk to them about their market, right? How do they define who their target market is? How are they going after them? Are they using digital marketing? All of those things come into conversation as we work to understand our borrower. And that way we can provide them direction and support that they need.
Interesting. We're going to take a short break here. We're talking to Michael Warrington, who's first vice president of Valley National Bank. We'll be back in a minute.
And Pop was my baby. A seed of an idea. But with sweat, maybe a few tears, it grew into something real. But that wasn't enough for me or my employees. We wanted it to blossom. So did Hector from Valley. He invests in small minority businesses like mine, nurturing it, even if it takes time. Something other banks weren't willing to do for us. Now we're not a mom and pop anymore. We're just poppin'. Every business has their plans. Let's talk about yours.
Welcome back to Money Thoughts. I'm your co-host, Peter Crowley, and we're sitting here with Michael Warrington, first vice president for Valley National Bank, a community banking lender. So, Michael, in September this year, Valley National Bank announced the launch of a community lending platform to streamline processing. It ramps up efforts to provide more financial services to small, minority-owned women and minority-owned businesses. You remember that program. In fact, you're one of the key members of that program. Can you talk a little about the program, why it's important, and what its mission is?
Sure. Well, simply put, its mission is to give small business owners easier access to capital, right? As you know, when you're starting up a business and one of the biggest challenges is how do I fund it? How do I fund my growth? Mm-hmm. So what we did is we created a platform whereby the borrowers could get easier access to capital, right? And community lending, that the loan amounts range from $5,000 to $100,000. Mm-hmm. And we created we didn't change our lending standards. What we did is we looked at the same information through a different lens. And what I mean by that is if you have a small business owner that owns a home, has a car, has put kids through college, right, has credit cards, but they are still working to get their financial information in order, meaning that getting the right accountant, getting the right financials to present for a loan, they're still creditworthy. So we designed a product, right, that allows us to look at the personal information and then make a loan decision to provide them some capital to start up. And that could be in the form of a line of credit or a term loan, which could be used for a number of things, for equipment financing, permanent capital, things of that nature. And sometimes even debt consolidation, because as you know, most small business owners start by using all of the available credit they have on their own, right, to start their business. So we help them reposition that debt with regular bank financing.
So it sounds like if if someone in our audience is a small business owner or thinking of becoming a small business owner, they really are, it's to their benefit to go to the bank and search out a community banker. Because very often it's hard to navigate a bank sometimes. Where do you go? What do you do? But so if someone was going to start off and say, I want to start a business, or I just took over a business, to go to Valley National Bank, how would they find you?
Well, you can start with our retail partners, and our retail partners will bring us in. And we have a very close working relationship with the retail partners in the bank. As I mentioned, some of us started in the branches. They know to call us. We have a web page which talks about community lending, which also talks about us, right? And we are active in the community, actively spreading the word to get it out. So we're not a kept secret in the bank. Right? And we do that purposefully because we realize, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to help small business owners and provide them the information they need to continue to grow their business.
So I would think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that with what you're explaining, during the pandemic, you would have been an absolute partner with a lot of your companies on the Payback Protection Program. In other words, smaller businesses weren't in a position to really understand or qualify or have the necessary documentation. If you were working with them, would you help them through that whole process?
Well, Peter, first of all, I'm glad you asked that question. And I'll just take a minute to talk about Valley's participation with the payroll protection loan. As a regional bank, we were one of the largest lenders actively involved in the payroll protection loan. Through our efforts, and a lot of people in Valley were part of this plan, we did over 20,000 small PPP loans for a total of $3 billion, which is huge for a company our size. And we had teams of bankers, myself included, working 24/7 to help meet the needs of these small business owners. I can tell you stories of how we were up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, Sunday, talking to small business owners, helping them through the process to get these PPP loans. And from that, actually really stemmed community lending. Because there we realized just how much of a need there was for a team like ours to talk to these small business owners and help them with guidance as to how to complete the applications and how to get their paperwork in order, and the things that were necessary to take advantage of the program.
So the program was twofold in my mind. It was applying for the PPP loan, and then on the back end, I guess it's reapplying to make sure the loan becomes a grant as opposed to a loan. Is that correct?
Well, it was to first of all, it was the program was evolved as we were doing it. Every day we were.
I heard there were different rules every day.
Every day we were getting direction from the government. It was about this, that, and the other. But if you really broke it down into two phases, there was the first phase of helping the borrowers complete the paperwork and qualifying for the loan. Right, and then the second phase wasn't necessarily a grant, but it's the forgiveness program.
I'm sorry, forgiveness.
Right?
Thank you.
And in order to be forgiven, there were certain pieces of information that were needed, which we helped them do at the beginning of the PPP process. And again, as I said earlier, that brought to the attention of our team, right, as well as the senior management team of Valley, of just how important it was for us to create the community lending team and to support and work with these small business owners.
Yeah, and I would guess that the small business owner, minority-owned, women-owned, really were confused. I mean, if you were a large company and you had a great banking relationship, it seemed to go smoother. If you were a small business, minority-owned or women-owned business, it seemed to get tougher. It sounds like you guys really were there to help mentor them through that, not just as a banker, but as a partner.
It was, and we did, right? And it was confusing, right? It was very confusing for the small business owners as well as the people internally, right? We were pivoting constantly to help these folks qualify for the PPP loans. So, but we were nimble, right? And we were quick. And we helped customers we helped small business owners that weren't even Valley customers, because we knew that these small business owners needed these services, and we did our best to help them qualify.
So that sounds like it was a really partnership approach. And I go back to the mentoring side because people don't normally think of banks as mentors. They think of banks as these, monolithic groups that either say yes or no to lending you money or take your money in and give you money back. You really have a different approach as a community banker.
Not just a community banker, but a Valley banker, right? It's Valley's model to be a relationship person to each customer and each person that works with us, right? It's a different effort, and as I told you earlier, I've been in banking for over 40 years. Started out with the big guys, right? And
right.
I've had the opportunity to work at Valley for the last 9 years, and we are truly a relationship bank, and we try to be everything for somebody, not everything for everybody. And that's our model, and that's how we work our business.
Interesting. So going back to partnerships again, I have some experience with chambers and the SBA. They're very important organizations in my mind, from the networking side from the chamber and from the resource side from the SBA. Again, sort of help our audience understand how you can help them with SBA loans or SBA, and it's not just loans the SBA does, they do a lot of other things too. What's your experience been with that, with the chambers and the SBA?
Well, I have a lot of experience with that. First of all, as I mentioned earlier, Valley is an SBA lender. Mm-hmm. But we also work with chambers and CDFIs that provide SBA financing for borrowers
CDFI
as well.
Meaning?
You can ask me, I got to look it up. But it's,
okay. That's a bank jargon, I know. It's
actually,
a bank.
It's a government jargon, right? And it's basically non-banks who are lenders of SBA products.
Okay.
Right. So in working with them, we first will see if we can help the borrower through our SBA channel internally. And if not, we have other contacts that do smaller SBA loans and different programs with SBA that might help these small business borrowers. We also work with chambers and nonprofit organizations across our footprint that provide training for these small business owners. Oftentimes, say you're working for corporate America for the last 25 years and all of a sudden you're not, mm-hmm. right? But you still need to continue to work, or this is the opportunity you have to fulfill your dream to do whatever it is you want to do, right? But you need to talk to somebody that can give you the guidance and direction as to how to make that happen. Starts out with a business plan, starts out with a marketing plan. So we partner with nonprofit organizations as well as some chambers to provide those services and training to these small business owners. And then, in doing that, we also teach them how to have a relationship with the bank. A relationship with the bank is key. And oftentimes that gets overlooked by the small business owner until they need to borrow money.
Right. Yeah, so when you need the bank, they're not there. When you don't need the bank, they're knocking on your door and they want to give you money. That's a really interesting aspect of how you do this too, because I don't think people normally know that there's a mentoring approach to banking. But I do want to switch a little bit and talk about you and your experiences. You've had a lot of experience dealing with small businesses. Can you give me one or two examples of where you really said, hey, that was important to me. That one really worked, and this company is there because of our work together?
I could pull numbers of stories where that has happened.
Give me the one that really hits home quickly.
Just recently, I spoke to a business owner who was looking for access to capital to take their business to the next level. They were using most of their own funds, their credit cards, their home equity lines, and what they really needed was they needed to take that debt and turn it into a term loan so they can keep more of their money. Right, keep more of their money in their business and their capital, right? And then they also needed a line of credit to give them a working capital need to continue to take on larger jobs, right? And so what made it satisfying is that these were people I know, right? These are people I know. I know them every day. We smoke cigars together once in a while, and then we finally got around to talking about what each other does. And this, how it is. You have people you hang out with and friends you associate with, but you never really know what each other does, right? And then you talk to them one day, and they say, "Hey, look, I really have a problem with my bank," and helping those people, right, get the type of capital they need and really restructuring their debt so that it allows them to continue to grow is what I find really rewarding.
I always ask this question: what's the biggest or the greatest success you felt as a banker today, as a community banker? What's the one thing that you say, boy, this has been really life-changing for me. I like this.
Well, the current job that I'm in is really something I find personally rewarding. As I told you earlier, I've had a number of leadership positions, in the commercial bank, working with middle market companies, business banking companies. I've done loans personally from $5,000 to $35 million, right? So it runs the gamut. But what I'm doing today, right, allows me to take all of these experiences that I've accumulated over the last 40 years in banking and help the person sitting in front of me, right? And providing them the direction, the guidance, right, as to how to take their business to where it is they want it to go. And I really feel good about that, because it's like allowing me to say, I've contributed to somebody growing their business.
Well, I'll tell you, from what you told me, and it really seems like it's been impactful for you, clearly impactful for your clients. But as we get to the end, Mike, if someone wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that? Or Valley National Bank?
Well, you can find Valley National Bank on the internet, right? Personally, my email address is mwarrington@valley.com.
We'll have that on the screen right now.
Put that on the screen, okay, as long as my telephone number as well. And happy to talk to anyone, and you can use me as your window to the bank. I will direct you to wherever it is you need to go, depending upon what you're looking for within Valley.
Mike, thank you very much. I've enjoyed
Peter,
talking.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for listening to Money Thoughts, and we'll be with you next time we're on. Bye now.